Hey,
Yes.
welcome to the Sports Wrap, George and Ringer, and hey, happy anniversary.
1 year.
1 year, we made it
Can't
around
believe
the
that.
sun, and we could have done it last week, but we hadn't quite made it to a year, and so anyway, we've been doing this for a year.
And that's about 40, 45 shows.
about 45 shows. We're probably real close, and Darcy and the crew over there at KCC TV even said, hey, you guys got to stop, so here we go.
We had some friends of ours from out of town heard about the show. Sue put it up for them on YouTube, and they watched one of our shows up the lake and absolutely loved it. These are classmates and such that really hadn't seen the show, but yeah, they like our creativity.
Well, let's start by talking about what we just got done watching before we started recording this Thursday night, a little bit after 8 o'clock, and the Lynx come through with a win over Phoenix in the first round, or actually the second round of the playoffs, as they had a bye through the first round and a single limb, and they went 80-79 over Phoenix, and they were behind early in the first half. I didn't get to watch it. Tied after three quarters, took the lead, and somehow find a way. It wasn't pretty, but they found a way to hang on and win 80-79.
Well, they played good, solid defense, and they just held them down. I think they had 75 points. They were able to get one more basket to 77, and from that point on, the Lynx had them pretty much shut down.
They sent out the awards today for the WNBA, and for the second consecutive year, the Lynx have the Player of the Year, Rookie of the Year, not Player of the Year, Rookie of the Year, in Crystal Dangerfield this year, and Cheryl Reeves won Coach of the Year, I think only for the second time, but she probably should win it. She probably should win it like every year, as far as I'm concerned, with the number of championships and the job she's done with this team, considering that they were the number 4 seed out of 12 teams, probably without their premier player in Sylvia Fowles in the middle. She only played 7 games out of 22, so she did a whale of a job again.
Well, hey, as long as you have the talent, you have the backing from your community, they're going to have a good team there. And, basketball right now is as popular as it's ever been in the state of Minnesota. And the women are as popular as the Timberwolves, if not more so.
And the Lynx now, with their win as the number 4 seed, will take on number 1 seed, the Las Vegas Aces, in a 3-game series. And I think that gets started on Sunday, I think it is. Might be Saturday. I forgot to look it up to be for sure. But the Lynx will be through, and hopefully they get Sylvia Fowles back. She was in uniform tonight. Maybe they can clog up the middle and see what happens, as Vegas does have the Player of the Year for the WNBA. So there's a reason why they're the number 1 seed.
Well, I saw them play a couple of weeks ago, or a couple of weeks. They played Las Vegas, and they didn't have the superstar there, and the Lynx took it to them pretty good, and then they played again a couple weeks later, and she was back, and it was all the difference.
Makes all the difference when you got that superstar. Let's stay with the NBA.
We can do that.
Let's talk about your Denver Nuggets.
Oh.
And when I said that last week, you didn't embrace them. You didn't love them as much as I thought you would, because, well, they were down.
I was just like everybody else. I had a notion that it was destiny that the Clippers and the Lakers were going to play, and
you and about 98% of the people, I think that
everybody I know. I just know that I watched the game, and the next morning the talk shows were abuzz. How they could just kind of fall apart, and it was just like Nikola Jokic. He had 16 points, 22 rebounds, 13 assists. That's a pretty good basketball player. And then Jamal Murray, he hit 40 big ones. And Kawhi Leonard, he had 14 points, 6 of 22. Hardly a stellar night. And Paul George, he was 4 for 16 for 10 points. And he was 0 for 11 in the fourth quarter.
Lots of money there for 24 points, I think you said.
Yes.
The Clippers are... they're never going to forget this. Clippers lost 5 years ago when they were the higher seed like this.
And that was brought up, yes.
And that was, I'm sure, brought up over and over again. The thing that boggles my mind is Denver came from behind. They were down 3-1 in the previous series, had to go to 7 to win it. They were behind 3-1 and win it again. Can they do it to the Lakers, or is it just too much of a monumental task to ask them to go 7 7 and then take down.
I didn't think they could do it against the Clippers. Yeah. So if they could, can they? I just know that LeBron James has a way of rising to the occasion, and we'll see what happens there. If all you have to do is actually shut him down, and you're well on your way to winning.
It's a Cinderella story. Everybody loves that Cinderella story. So hey, why not? And of course, speaking of Cinderella stories, you got to go look on the other side of the coin in the Eastern Conference, and you want to talk about the Cinderella story. You're talking about the Miami Heat, who won 8 out of their first 9, and then the other night they're down big to the Celtics. They force overtime, and Jimmy Butler comes through, and the Heat win. And then tonight the game is on over here to our left, and the Heat were down 15 points. When I picked it up a little bit later, they're only down by 1. And as I look now, they're only up by 2 with about 5.5 minutes to go. So
I know. I sat and watched the game because I couldn't let it go, and I watched the game with one eye open. And they finally won in overtime because at this point in time, I was looking for something I could believe in, like the Celtics. And, then I saw this Heat team play. Hey, they are a rugged bunch of basketballers, and they go hard and rebound hard and play good, solid defense. And, hey, this is going to be a great series, but Boston has to win a game.
Yeah, it's going to be. I don't know. Whatever Miami's been doing, whatever potion mixture of stuff, whatever Spolestra, and that's not right. I'm not saying it right. Anyway, the head coach, whatever he's putting into the brew to get these guys to just keep doing it, he's making it happen, and he's pushing all the right buttons, and they're winning.
Well, we'll see what happens tomorrow night because Denver will play LA. And that'll be the start of, that's going to be a great series. I am convinced of that. But I'm just saying, is the Clippers sold the story that they were going to be the ones, and they told the Lakers, they told me, they told everybody. They did not tell the Nuggets, and Denver's coming back. So who knows? Maybe I'll get a chance to see my young friend Bol. This is rugged league for him to be playing in these days, so yeah. I haven't seen him out there much. But I did see him in the locker room, and he was dancing and partying in there pretty good.
And why not?
And no, you can pick him out right away. He's almost as tall as Boban.
Let's talk the NFL.
Let's talk some NFL.
Suppose we got to talk about the Vikes, huh?
We do.
Is it as bad as everybody's making it out to be?
No, because like I suggested we had 3 rookies in the defensive secondary, and all of a sudden you put them up against, say, a guy that knows how to chew apart defensive secondaries pretty well, and he did. And I'll tell you what, they better solid that together because Phillip Rivers is also capable of doing that, and he can get slicing pretty good as well.
Everybody's bad mouthing. That's what, it's easy to do.
Oh, yeah.
It's easy to bad mouth. Yeah, I look at the secondary, and for as young as they are, there were a lot of times when they were like right here, and Rodgers found a way to put the ball
right in there
in the right spot where they couldn't do anything about it.
Yeah.
So I don't know if the best defenders in the NFL could have done much better, and I'm saying this in the fact that it's Aaron Rodgers.
Yes.
He's pretty darn good, and of course it hurts me to say that because the Packer fans will eat that stuff up, but he's a wily veteran, and when they forced him to kick a field goal,
mm-hmm.
and then they stopped him and they gave up the safety and they got the field goal and it was 8-7, I thought, okay, we're right there. When Cousins threw, think about this now. Cousins was 2 for 2 when he threw that horrible interception. Absolutely horrible interception. Okay, I'm going to defend Kirk Cousins a lot on this show and every place else, but that was a very bad throw. It was supposed to be to the outside, and he threw the ball way to the inside. But he was 2 for 2 at that point, and there was 2 minutes left in the second quarter. Those 2 completions were on the first 2 plays of the game.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, we went into this, we're not going to throw the ball mode, and I know he got sacked on the one, but all of a sudden it was just like we got conservative, and it's just like, well, wait a minute now. You just signed Delvin Cook to $63 million for 5 years. So what are the Green Bay Packers thinking? Hey, the Vikings, they're going to turn around, they're going to hand it off to number 33 because they want to show how good he is and that he deserves his $63 million. Well, we got other guys that we need to do, and we got number 1 pick in Jefferson at a wide receiver, and we didn't throw him a ball in the first half. I don't even know if he was playing. Irv Smith, does anybody remember that Irv Smith was even on the football team? Because I don't think he caught a football till the second half. When I say this, I'm bitter about some things, and I know we're supposed to run the football, but we didn't look like we could run the football.
No, and Cook only carried it 12 times.
Elflein went on the IR today. So now we've got a guy who's been starting, and maybe not very well. I'll put that on but now we got to find somebody that's going to step in and take that spot. And you're heading on the road, which maybe isn't a bad thing. And all of a sudden, things can go haywire. But it's only one game. That's what I want to say. It's only one game.
It is.
And those D-backs that got burnt so bad that everybody's talking about, guess what? They got a game underneath their belts. I bet they learned the heck out of it in film.
I bet they did, and they went over that film over and over again. And I'll tell you, Zimmer is not a guy that takes lightly a poor defense. This defense is going to improve, and there might even have to be made some adjustments. But they didn't recruit all those rookies because they're poor athletes. These are exceptional athletes. They have to learn the game.
And they made some choices in the secondary and going with those guys. And, I know there's not a lot of guys out there available, but sometimes experience helps. I thought the D-line didn't play very well.
No, they didn't. They put no pressure under
No pressure, and if you don't have pressure on Aaron Rodgers, he's going to be able to pick you apart. So there's things to work on. I'll be honest with you. I didn't go watch the second half. I watched the first half, and I knew I was going to go out for a boat ride, and I wasn't worried about it and whatever else. And so...
great minds think alike. I went up the lake as well. So it was one of those things where... and I'll tell you, NFL football is going to have to be impressive this year. There's enough people that right now, frankly, can give or take it. And
I'm one of them.
Well, it's just and all of a sudden we have other things on our mind, and we've had other things on our mind for months now. So it's almost like the NFL is going to have to coax their fans back. I think baseball and basketball and hockey are going to have to as well. And I love these athletes, and I'm glad they're making good money and they're staying healthy and doing what they're doing. But it is primarily entertainment.
What else did you see in the NFL from last week? Anything that sticks out?
Well, I talked. I shot my mouth off real good about Dallas going over to New Orleans, and it was Tampa. Tampa went over to New Orleans. Tom Brady took a kicking. I felt real bad for him, and then he went home and got chewed out by his coach as well.
Yeah, I didn't find out about that till this afternoon, that he had been mean to his quarterback, that he had to play better, that he had to get a little whatever, and so everything's not all roses and candy and sunshine.
Tom Brady not having grit, not having that's a hard thing for him to swallow, or anybody else that's ever seen him play.
And they were talking on ESPN this afternoon. That's like I said where I first saw it, and they were saying, Tom Brady took the high road. Didn't put anything out on Twitter, didn't put anything out on Instagram. Just, okay. And he probably knows that he's got to be a little bit better.
Yeah, well, that's just a fact.
Cleveland is still bad.
Cleveland, well, we'll see how bad they are tonight. Because they're playing for the championship of Ohio.
Yeah.
And considering that both teams have been less than stellar, they'll see what happens. But, I remember the time when the Cleveland Browns had Paul Brown and Jim Brown, and that's about all the Browns they needed. Championships will come back.
Did you see Joe Burrows, who we bragged up on this show about 9 months ago, and how great he was for LSU? Did you see the pass that he threw in the fourth quarter? You were out and probably on the boat.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, he's scrambling, and he comes out, and there's a receiver about 6 yards away from him, and he tried to flip one like this, right into the linebacker's hands.
Ooh.
But he got the ball back, drove Cleveland down, and of course they had a chance to kick a field goal to tie, and of course they shanked it. So Cincinnati loses, not good. What about you Dallas Cowboys?
I'll tell you what. They didn't play that well. Defensively, offensively, they did all right. Dakota played all right. Elliott had himself a pretty good game.
Nice game.
But they're not this ever-fearing team that they think they are.
Might be in a few weeks, but
Right now, no.
Cardinals beat the 49ers.
Yes.
Everybody said the 49ers might not be whatever. They put Richard Sherman on the IR for a few weeks. So we'll see how their defense works with that. They lost their best wide receiver, did the 49ers, to an injury. So who knows? We'll find more out about the NFL. It's like
and you take the top 6 or 8 teams in the NFL. They really can beat each other up and win. Any one of them is capable of winning a world's, a Super Bowl. They just can.
Let's stay with football, and yes. I imagine the next thing we should talk about is the Big Ten.
We should talk about the Big Ten.
What do you think?
Well, I like you, I'm a football addict, and the Big Ten now has guaranteed that I can watch football and all the rest of that. But I go back to the situation. Just because you're allowing yourself to, should you? And I have a real I have a real flip-flopping heart on this one because the possibilities are for damage to kids. And I say this because Army and BYU canceled this weekend.
North Carolina and Charlotte. Virginia Tech.
Virginia Tech. I mean, Virginia and Virginia Tech. They don't want to give up that game, I guarantee you that. And so you see this, and I just think.
Remember, they're canceling these games because they've got enough kids who have either had the virus or been around people that have the virus that they can't go too deep at every position. That's kind of the standard.
Yeah.
If you can't go too deep, then you cancel the game.
Well, and it's like they asked Barry Alvarez. He says, what we want to have is, and I suppose I have it written down somewhere, is we want to have an ordinary season with playoffs and to be able to intertwine our programs with Fox Sports and ESPN. And then the guy says, are you saying this is all about TV? And Alvarez replied, you said that, not me. But the fact of it is if we're saying this isn't about money and television and all rights and all the rights for Division I football, we're kidding ourselves. This is certainly about that. And I think the University of Minnesota did not do themselves justice by whacking 3 sports. And I think they put that out there almost as a blackmailing type situation. Here, we can't afford to do this, and that's true. But at that point in time, maybe you have to find other arrangements to make it. I don't know how you make up $75 million.
The Gophers cut men's tennis, men's gymnastic, and men's track and field. And, of course, we talked about this prior to taping the show, but the Gophers, the University of Minnesota just put in a brand new track facility. And then you cut half the team, half the people that would be using that. I'm not sure. And then they talked about how much money you're going to save in tennis and gymnastics and track and field.
You ain't saving any money on those.
They're not really saving any money. So I'm not sure. There were some people out there were protesting. We haven't heard the end of these sports, and I know they said they're not going to bring them back. Men's gymnastics, I think they said like in 1994 or something got chopped, and then they brought it back. And so we'll see what happens. It's definitely not over. The Big Ten, they're going to play an 8-game schedule, no buys. You're going to play 8 games, and then on December 19th, the day before they pick the bowl games, you're going to cross over. So from the West, your number 3 is going to play number 3 from the East, and they're going to cross over, and of course the number 1s will play for the Big Ten championship and the chance to go play in the big tournament bowl, and whatever else. Yeah. And of course there's no leeway left over to say, well, if we don't play this week, we can fit the game in here.
There's no gaps.
So if something happens, somebody's going to come up short, and they're going to lose that game. And those games would start the weekend of October 23rd, 24th, Friday, Saturday in there. And I'm sure they're going to work those games into Friday so that they can get as much money as they possibly can.
Yes.
Get as many games on the big set. So Big Ten football for now is back. And they said the big thing, of course, the reason why they could change, they got these rapid tests, the saliva tests that they can give every day and find out so that they can stay ahead of the curve. Rather than being reactionary, they can be proactive.
On the positive side, I kept on thinking, if they're doing these tests every day to all these athletes all over the country, those tests are going to improve. And who knows, maybe we can get a rapid testing type situation because, if we take the next step and they start talking about high school football and the rest of these, somewhere along the line, they may have to say, we got to test these kids as well.
Yeah, that's. I suppose we should work in that end as long as we're staying with the football. Of course, this week the Minnesota State High School League under some pressure, and they've been facing pressure. I think all along, but of course, litigation or lawsuit came out. Some people were going to get together, so they had a board discussion meeting basically. And nothing could be decided at that, and they discussed. And if you follow along with John Millay on Twitter, he posted a lot of stuff out there, comments from athletic directors, coaches, people who are concerned. And you've got the article from the Minneapolis paper today, and there's football coaches out there that are saying, if we're going to do this, we got to do it the right way. Let's not just jam this thing in and say, well, everything's perfect and whatever else, when it should be done right. And if it means waiting until March, then that's what we should do so that it's done right.
Well, this is what Jeff Williams, predominant Owatonna football coach, he says coaches have reached out to him saying they're really nervous about a fall season. And then they have other coaches saying they have as many as 10 kids going out for other sports. So you're going to draw those kids back in, and for some of these teams, coaches take other jobs. They're not going to coach this year, and so they take other jobs and they go about it. So there's some things that they have to do, and so they. And the other thing is that they seem to want a robust playoff system. Well, I played football where there was none, and we never liked it very much, and we were aware of it, but they didn't have it, and we still played football, but that always would have been nice. But now they kind of seem to be.
So there were still dinosaurs on.
Yes, we used them as linebackers.
And when they say a robust playoff, I don't think they're talking about a state tournament. I think they're talking about making sure you can have a section tournament. So I've been hearing possible football games on Friday, October 2nd. Then I saw possibly Friday, October 9th. Well, let's think about this now. If you play on the 9th and the 16th and the 23rd and October 30th, that's 4 games, and you're getting into November. Now, the teams down south probably are saying, well, that's okay. We'll play the first week or 2 of November. I'm not so sure our kids want to be playing outside the first week or 2 of November here because the field starts to freeze and everything else. And I know that we've done it, and I'm whatever. But even in 1980, and I'm going to go back to 1980 because that's 40 years ago, my high school, my brother played for the state championship in 9-man football in 1980, 79 and 80 actually. And their state championship game, I think, was on November 11th.
Ooh.
So even then they knew that you shouldn't be playing too far into November. So even if you started October 2nd, and let's say you got crazy and you played the 2nd and the 9th, and then you said, okay, let's play like we were going to do the MEA, so we're going to play on MEA Wednesday, and then we're going to play on Tuesday, and we're going to play on Saturday the 24th, I think it would be, and then you played on October 30th. Well, now you could squeeze 6 games in like 4 weeks, and now you're going to have your kids so beat up that they aren't even going to be able to live.
So what you're saying, the logistics of even pulling this off is tough.
I'm saying it's less than a 50-50 chance that there's high school football this fall. It just isn't possible. And, of course, they're talking about bringing volleyball back, but, of course, a lot of the volleyball players in the cities are playing in the fall volleyball leagues.
Right.
But they're already making plans that gets over like October 13th, and they would start like the next day, and then they would get their season started and they could play into November and make things happen.
Well,
but they're playing indoors.
That's what the coaches are saying right now. They're playing volleyball. They're just not playing volleyball for their team.
For the high school.
For the high school.
So that's good, bad, or otherwise. I'm not sure. So this meeting that is going to decide football is at 9 a.m. on Monday morning. So I'm guessing by like no later than noon on Monday, we're going to know whether we're going to have a fall football season or we're going to have a spring football season or try to have a spring football season. And
well, we have just a small can of worms here, because does that mean that that D2 and D3 colleges are going to go that way? Most of them have already canceled their schedules.
And the thing about football and volleyball, they're already practicing. We're in that window where we can practice, and so we're already practicing. So we've got a week of practice in. If they decide on Monday, we're ready to go full hit. I mean, we're ready to go. So I'll say it this way: I didn't think the Big Ten would change their mind. I didn't think they'd come back and play football. I just don't think it's possible that we're going to play football, because all this stuff that we've mentioned here hasn't mentioned what about the kids getting the virus again. We haven't talked about crossing those paths.
This is all about the kids, supposedly, but I don't want to, and everybody says, how do you bring up sports without politics these days? Well, it's really difficult not to, but the fact of it is that primarily, we are watching kids play a game, and we want those kids to be as safe, and also, in my mind, being an educator, you remove the education from the sports, that limits the sport as a whole. As a whole, it really does. You have to have that as part of it, and I know it meant a lot to me, and so I think Miami just beat them.
Wow.
So you have to keep that in mind, and if that works, and
the soccer word was thrown at me tonight.
Oh,
Soccer's playing right now. Football and soccer are similar, not the same, obviously, but you give soccer has played. Have we heard of any major issues? Again, it's tough.
And there's things that's coming up like right now, and my wife was telling me there are testing centers throughout the state. You can go get tested for nothing. And so this is going to become more prevalent, especially if you want your kids to go hang out in schools and such. They have to figure out, just who has and who does not have this virus.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's a hardcore situation.
College hockey was delayed since we spoke the last time. Their season's not going to start till about November 20th or so. College basketball, they moved their start date back 2 weeks to November 25th. And that's about the time a lot of the colleges are going to be closing their campuses. And they're hoping that this will give college basketball a chance to not have so many fans in the stands possibly, get to play some games, maximum of 25 games. The tournament is going to stay the same. So provided everything keeps going in the right direction. So these sports are being delayed, but we'll see.
25 games is still an awful lot of games. I mean, in the old days, they had 18 before they went into the tournament,
Sure.
and a lot of the kids actually went to class. When you're having 30, 35 games, you're on the road a lot. You don't have a lot of time for incidentals like
we're not going to have any tournaments in the Bahamas or the Great Alaska Shootout or any of those things anymore. So.
And I hate to take that away from the kids too, because I've seen some of the films when they're in Hawaii. They have a good time.
They have a good time.
Yes.
Let's talk a little more hockey.
Yes.
Let's talk locally first.
Let's do that.
Let's talk about our good friend Dean Blaze.
He did it again.
Going to be inducted into the U.S. Hockey Hall of Fame. Congratulations to Dean. And came out, today's Thursday, I think Monday or Tuesday night it came out. And all I can say is, and I sent you a text, Dean, but I'm just going to say it here, it's well deserved.
It really is.
I'm not saying that they waited too long or whatever else. Dean had a brilliant career at all levels, World Juniors, college, high school, everything, and he was a pretty good player to boot.
Oh, he was a very good player. No two ways about it. I call Mike Chowcheski the Dean Blaze of basketball, and so because they are those kind of qualifying people. And so I got to ask you then, he is going to be in the Hockey Hall of Fame. There's quite a few Falls people in that Hockey Hall of Fame.
Lots of Falls people in that Hockey Hall of Fame.
I think we're going back to Dick Doherty.
Huffer Christensen.
Lefty. Timmy Sheehy.
Timmy Sheehy's in there, yeah.
Larry Ross.
I think Larry Ross is in there.
And now Dean.
You did your homework. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. There could be more. I'm not even sure.
Okay, I'm going to tell you right now.
You did your homework.
Where I picked this up.
Yeah.
I was listening to the local radio station. I forget the call numbers, but Mike Bolstead did an interview with Dean.
Nice.
And it was a great interview. And Blaze was, when he gets relaxed and start telling stories, he can be quite a gabber.
Yeah.
And the interview ran about 20 minutes over, and at the end, the lady that was in there, she says, "Well, who did you have for inspiration when she was a kid?" And he didn't answer the question, but he came back, and Mike says, he had so many. He says, It was probably at his age, it was probably Tim Sheehy, but there were a lot of them, and there just were. Yeah.
Minnesota Wild traded Eric Stahl
what about
this
that?
week.
Are they happy with that? I think
Bill,
scoring or what?
I think Bill Guerin is happy. He knows that this team has to get younger.
Yeah.
So they get Marcus Johansson from Buffalo, and the Wild and Buffalo have traded lots over the years. I don't know what's going on there, but I like Eric Stahl a lot. 2 years ago, 42 goals. I mean, he had a tremendous year. Guerin is trying to shake things up here. He lets Bob Mason go. They asked him the other day about the team. He didn't even mention that Mikko Koivu was a part of the team, which is telling everybody Mikko Koivu is going away. Eric Stahl's now going away. Where's Zach Parise going to end up next year? If they can trade him, he's going to be gone as well. And Guerin is going to take this young approach, and we're going to build it, and we're going to see what happens.
So he's taking his best hockey players and putting them on the market and seeing what he's getting for them.
I think that's what he's doing. He knows he's got to get rid of some of these contracts, some of these bigger contracts, so he can have some money to sign some of these other guys in free agency. And when they signed Parise and Suter here, man, it's a long time ago. I think 7 years ago already, something like that. Everybody thought that, okay, they finally went out and spent that money. Well, we kind of got ourselves overextended a little bit and didn't have enough money to put the finishing touches on it. So Guerin's going in a new direction, and we'll see where the goaltender situation is going to end up and everything else. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm not saying good or bad. I'm just saying he's not going to stay with the status quo, and he's going to try to see what he can do here. And the way he's going to try to do it is get younger. So.
No, but I do have a question about, because you've got hockey and basketball going now and actually coming down to the end of their season.
Yeah.
Baseball's coming down to the end of the season. When is basketball and hockey going to start up again? Next fall?
Well, they're still in discussion on that. I know originally the plan was that the NBA would be done no later than October 17th, and I think they're going to beat that by quite a bit. Maybe not quite a bit. Maybe by the 10th.
There aren't a lot of games left.
They're talking December 1 to kind of get things back up and rolling, and so is the NHL talking about a December 1st startup date, because the NHL is going to be done beforehand, because Dallas, we might as well mention that as long as we're talking about it, Dallas took out Vegas, and Vegas was up 2-0, and somehow Dallas found their way in. And
another one of those 7-gamers.
No, this one only went 5.
Oh, did it? Oh.
Only went 5, but I want to say this, and I don't want anybody to get mad at me, because I'm still mad at Norm Green for taking the Dallas Stars away from us. But I could not. I was pulling for Dallas to win this because I didn't want to see Vegas in there. I'm still mad what they gave Vegas, and they gave them all the cards that they could ever want, and now they're this great expansion team. And I agree, they put some things together and got some guys to play possibly. But what upsets me about it is they gave them all the cards, and now Seattle comes in, the Kraken, come on. and they're not going to let them play with the same set of cards. They're going to make them do it without having all the talent. It's just kind of like, oh, wait a minute. Now it looks like somebody's trying to figure Vegas.
They should have done that for the Wild. We would have been real happy.
We would have been real happy. So Vegas out 4-1, and then Tampa Bay and the New York Islanders going to Game 6, and Tampa Bay up 3-2 there. And I think they're playing tonight as we speak. It's been a very busy week, so I'm trying to stay atop of everything there. But Tampa Bay has looked really, really good, and the Islanders did sneak one away from them there the other night, and so it's a little bit of a series.
Yeah, well, hey, it's that time of year.
U.S. Open tennis last weekend. Naomi Osaka in 3 sets. Serena had lost in the semis. Semis. And then Dominic Thiem in the men's. I watched a good share of that after the football games kind of got, I wasn't too thrilled with them. And Dominic Thiem wins his first major. Down 2 sets, came all the way back and tried to give it away. And
I saw the end of it, and I mean, and he couldn't move.
The tennis was not of the highest quality at the end, but after playing for nearly 4 hours, It was a long
match.
U.S. Open golf got started today. At Winged Foot, and Justin Thomas shot a 65, which they didn't think could be done at the very difficult Winged Foot, and Rory McIlroy shot a 67, and somebody shot a 66, and I didn't write it down. Can't remember. It doesn't matter because it's all going to change before the weekend. But Tiger shot a 73. Jordan Spieth shot a 73. I think there were only 10 players that were under par, like at 4:30 this afternoon. So it's going to be a test. It's very difficult for me to get into U.S. Open mode being September, but of course this is about Ryder Cup time, so you should be able to flip the switch at some point and get into it. But it'll be exciting to see what happens. Most of the money being bet was on Tiger, that he was going to win it, and I'm kind of like, do they realize that he's 45? I know why we're betting. I know we like to watch when he plays, but come on.
No, he's a favorite, and people like to bet on the favorites. I mean, I watch TV to watch Tiger play golf. I don't bet any money on him.
I just shook me. I couldn't even believe it.
Yeah.
So, did you hear that the world outdoor pole vault record was broken today?
Whoa, no, I did not get that.
This record for Sergei Bubka, you remember Sergei? He set the record 26 years ago. One of the longest standing track and field records around.
The same one that was been doing it for a quarter of a century?
Sergei, well, he had the record still, and it got beat today, 20 feet, 2 inches.
Jesus, that's up in the air.
That's way up in the air. Now, you think about Jack Maxwell here from town.
Yeah.
He went 14 feet this summer.
14, and that's a pretty good leap.
14 feet, probably get a great chance to win state. Now think about going another 6 feet, a whole other person higher to set the world's record.
Well, you see, in the old days, they fall into wood chips. Now they have great big fluffy deals. Nobody's going to fall 20 feet into a pile of wood chips. Break their leg, if not their neck. And so, I think it's the cushy landing that's helped these guys vault.
Well, and I think training strength poles, the technology of the poles, they give them
they're fantastic athletes.
So let's talk local for a minute. Girls, the cross-country teams were out in Warroad on Monday.
How'd they do?
They did pretty well. The girls won. Out of 6 teams, the girls scored 54, East Grand Forks 56, and Warroad had 59. Ryan Ford, first place individually. Abby Hutchinson, freshman, she takes 3rd place. So good job for them. The boys in that same meet ended up taking 3rd. Warroad had 35, West Marshall 46, and the boys had 64. Anthony Scholler was the best placer for the Broncos. He took 11th for them. Parker Savonin was 21st. And the girls' swimming and diving team was supposed to be at home on Tuesday. Heard they had a little temperature issue with the pool.
So pool got too cold or too hot?
Pool got too cold. So they had to postpone. So they postponed it for 1 week. So that meet will go to the 22nd. And so hopefully, they should be able to get that meet in. I want to go back, and I guess I want to finish this whole show with this thought. our school district, and I'm not condemning, don't anybody get on the phone and start whatevering me, okay? Our school, probably rightfully so, has said no fans at any of our home meets, okay? So you read this article in the Minneapolis paper today, and one of the things was the kids are saying, I don't want to play football when I can't play in front of my friends. Okay? These swim meets at home, nobody in there except for the kids that are swimming. The home cross-country meet, the Heil Pike, is going to be on Tuesday, September 29th. They're going to run 3 teams at 1 o'clock, and then they're going to run 3 teams at 4 o'clock. So they're going to run 2 separate meets. And then at the end, they'll compile all the information, and they'll come up with who wins and all the other stuff. But they're going to run 2 separate meets, and of course, they're going to say, no fans. So part of the reason why kids compete is so mom and dad can come watch, so that their buddies can come watch them do what they do. You know, I just told you Ryan Ford took first place at War Road. Well, who got to go watch her do that? And to me, that's a piece of the puzzle. And I'm not saying because 2,000 people go watch a boys hockey game or whatever, and only 25 people go watch a whatever, that makes one sport more important than the other. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is people should have the opportunity to go watch. And so I feel bad for the kids. I can't imagine going down to in 2 Fridays, 3 Fridays. We could be playing at Sports Stadium with the lights turned on, the PA guy in the background, and nobody in the stands. Nobody in the stands.
No, you'll see. Who's that guy over sneaking through the fence? It's Frake.
You know, the parking lot on the end down by the open place down by Super One on that end will be packed to the gills. There'll be people outside the fence, but they're not going to be let in. And so I hear people saying, let's play the games. I hear kids saying, let's play the game. But part of playing the game is playing in front of fans and having that.
That's right.
Think about the Vikings game on Sunday. It's kind of sterile.
It was.
You know, the NBA games, they're pumping in sound. The Twins games, they're pumping in sound. But it just doesn't have that feel. And I know we're crowning champions and they're getting a chance to play. But for some place inside of me, it just isn't right.
The Colts are going to have 2,500 people.
The Colts get to have 2,500.
You know what that's going to do in that stadium?
Not much.
No, you're not going to be able to. And then the other thing, like just to fortify what you were saying, I watched a movie one time, it was a coach's movie, and the coach was saying to his kids, whether or not you're playing for that little redheaded girl in the stands, or your mom, or your dad, or your school, remember one thing. You're doing it for that little redheaded girl in the stands, and that's where these kids are at. And it's just like, it's a bit romantic, it's a bit cheesy, but it's also true, you know.
Yeah, I said and for the radio station and KCC TV, everybody's going to be watching her, and everybody's going to be watching on YouTube or whatever if these football games are going on, because you're not going to be able to sit in the stands and watch it. And I just. It seems wrong, you know. You think about the Big Ten. Every state's going to be a little bit different, just like the pros. If you go to maybe to Ohio State, they're going to let 25,000 in, and you go to Minnesota, and they're only going to let maybe 2,000 in. I don't know what those numbers are, but it just doesn't seem right, and it's tough. With college football on last week, I watched very little of it on Saturday. It just doesn't. It's not the same, and I can't make it be right for whatever reason.
And I'm struggling with the same thing. And Sue's asked me, "Are you going to be able to support the Gophers if you don't agree with what they're doing?" And I don't know. But I tell you, I've got one thing to say. Just one last thing before we leave there. And this has to do with no audiences, no crowds either. Gable Steveson. Yeah, you saw this on there.
I read that.
Okay, he'll be wrestling in the Beat the Streets tournament in New York at 6:30 tonight. FlowWrestling.org. Now, it's streamed. I haven't even looked it up. I just saw that tonight. But wrestling start, and Gable Steveson, he put on 20 pounds, and they said it's solid muscle. And I think he could be dangerous this year.
Could be very dangerous. We'll see if they let them wrestle. I'm kind of surprised they're letting them do even this. But
they used to do it in Madison Square Garden, and they won't let them do that this year. But so they won't even tell them it's an undisclosed location.
It's an undisclosed location. It's like, all right, we're going underground. It's like the Kumite from Bloodsport. Nobody knows where it's at. You don't tell anybody.
Yes.
And so things are kind of crazy.
They are.
What have you been listening to upstairs in the solarium?
Actually, we've been the other day. I put in the Crusaders, and what the heck was it that I was listening to last night? One group that I listened to a lot, it was called Little Feat. And Little Feat is a very action-orientated Southern California, Southern rock and roll type thing. But they got bored one time and they decided to put a band out, and they called themselves the Blues Busters. And the Blues Busters, they took all the remnant songs from all over the place, really, really great songs that they never recorded on any other album. And so the other night, Sue came up with their glass of wine, and I entertained the neighborhood with the Blues Busters. And one thing about the Little Feat rock and roll generally is exactly that. But they bring a tuba in this, and you can hear it. You can hear this tuba on 2 or 3 songs back there, and one is featured as a tuba solo. And you don't hear rock and roll like that anymore.
You don't hear rock and roll like that hardly ever.
Hardly ever.
This Friday night, classic game number 4 for Bronco football.
What are we watching?
And International Falls hosting the Duluth-Denfeld Hunters in the 1995 section semifinals. An exciting game. The Falls had beaten Denfeld 36-6 the second game of the year that year, and they got to meet each other in the playoffs, and it ended up being, as we've said, another classic.
You get to hear my partner on the roof describing things, and you get to hear me. They give me a megaphone, if you believe that, as announcing. So we were very much part of that game.
Yeah,
and,
we definitely were there,
yeah.
And I know we're coming up with a game from the 2000 season. Not next week. It's going to be 99 next week. But we got 2000 in a couple of weeks, and I was watching the 2000 game tonight in between school, or this afternoon between school and football practice. And I could hear me, and I could also hear you because you were the PA guy in that game as well. So this game in 2000 is going to be against Crosby Arrington, and the Broncos had their hands full.
They did.
They had their hands full. It's one of those games that kind of pulls at you because you're like watching and you're like, well, when is it going to happen? And then things fall apart for the Broncos for a while. And then they pull it back together. So anyway, keep watching Classic Bronco Football. They're on KCC-TV, Midco Channel 7 all weekend. Go look it up on YouTube. All the games that are there, the 88 game against Greenway, the 92 game against Proctor, the game from last week, the 93 game against Hutchinson, and now this week will be 95 against Duluth-Denfeld. And we'll keep doing this. But what happens if we have football? Are we going to continue to do it?
This is going to be an issue, and I've thought about that. But, hey, we'll work something out. We'll get up early in the morning and do a Saturday morning talk show or something. We'll come up with something.
We'll see.
A little shout out to my girls, Helen and Carla, for coming up and visiting us, and they're now rap fans, and so they'll be listening to us. One is in San Diego and the other one's in Minneapolis, but we made fans.
Yeah, we had a pretty good viewing on YouTube this past week. I think we got into the mid-30s.
Oh, really?
So I'm like, hey, people, we appreciate it. Well,
yeah.
As long as, like I said, KCC TV or somebody says you guys are done, I guess we'll keep doing it.
Oh, no, I don't think that's going to happen. We'd have to fire ourselves.
Yes. Well, anything else?
No, have good sports. Stay healthy. Stay happy this weekend. It's going to be a good one.
Talk to you soon. Thanks, everybody.